So today's video I'm going to talk about what is research. Now there are various definitions of research, and one of the definition is that research is a systematic or creative pursuit of knowledge, and the aim of this pursuit is to increase the stock of knowledge. A byproduct of this pursuit is also the generation of human resources who are experts in conducting research. Now if we look further at the definition, then we look at two keywords which are systematic and creative. Now, of course, you are familiar with the systematic component of research. Basically, the systematic component of research says that you do a literature survey, you find the gaps in the literature, then you think about how you can fill these gaps. Then you find a particular research problem which is very narrowly focused on filling one or two of these gaps. Then you basically publish papers regarding this research and you submit them to conferences or journal. Now this is the process by which research takes place, and the publications at the end of this process are basically the works which contribute to the stock of knowledge. Now most of the research goes on like this, and we can call this systematic research, and the improvements which are produced in the field through systematic research are step-by-step improvements, and that's how research basically marches forward. Now there is also a huge impact which creativity makes in research. Now to just look at an example, if we take Newton's laws. Now when Newton came up with his laws, that was a big creative step. And then there were a lot of researchers like Lagrange, Hamilton and so on, who basically developed different formulations for Newton's laws, or different ways in which the equations of motions of systems can be obtained. So all these are now used today in engineering and physics, and these have all contributed to our understanding of classical mechanics. But then Einstein came along and he found that when bodies travel extremely fast, you need different type of laws. So that led to the relativity theory. And we all know about the relativity theory and the impact it had on various aspects of physics and so on. For example, the GPS systems actually use relativity theory. So the GPS is something which you today use for locating yourself in any place, for driving cars and so on. So that's the global positioning system, which is controlled by a bunch of satellites which are spaced out, which are put out in space. So again, how do you become creative is a very difficult problem, but one of the ways is to think differently from how the other people think, and some of it is God-given and some of it can probably be developed by some people. So we see that the systematic research part of the work requires you to be very meticulous, conscientious about your work, and very dedicated to things which you do. For example, you need to perform your experiments or simulations properly, keep good records of all the work which you do, save all the files and things properly, spend a lot of time making nice graphs and plots and so on. So a lot of the typical research is in this category. Now one of the ways to get creative is to use the concept of serendipity. So serendipity happens when you try to pursue something and it leads you to something else. So one of the examples of a serendipitous discovery is that of penicillin, where basically the scientist was growing bacteria in a petri dish, and then one day he found that some of the bacteria were not growing very well because there was a presence of a mold on that petri dish. And that basically led to the discovery of penicillin, which was basically linked to that mold which was forming on the petri dish. So basically you need to look out for serendipity, in that when you pursue some research and you encounter some peculiar or weird problems, that may actually lead you to a more interesting and creative discovery than the systematic part of the research. A second approach you can take is you can encourage cross-disciplinary research between fields or multidisciplinary research. For example, we can take some concept from biology, such as swarm behavior of insects or birds, and use it to develop algorithms which can be used in computer science, like particle swarm optimization and so on. We could study creatures like lizards and how they walk on walls and roofs, and use them to build robots which are better in terms of walking on such surfaces. So this is a field called biomimetics. So again, these kind of deliberate strategies to synthesize between two different fields can lead you again to creative outcomes. Now, of course, just to give an example, some people question why we need to do research. Now, if we look at the COVID-19 situation, we basically see that there is a huge requirement for people who know about coronaviruses. And these people are required if we want to develop vaccines and so on, or to further bring out drugs which can help to cure the coronavirus problem. Now, for a person to know about coronaviruses, he or she should have done not only a bachelor's degree but probably a master's and a PhD, and the PhD should preferably be in the field related to viruses, so something known as virology. So there may be people out there who have done a PhD on coronaviruses. For example, coronaviruses are present in nature in cows and so on. So there are bovine coronaviruses, there are coronaviruses present in bats and so on. So basically, when these people are suddenly called to work on this novel coronavirus, they can just look up at some of the literature in the field and quickly they can start doing this new problem which is required at this point. So that's one of the reasons why any society needs people who have expertise in some specialized domains such as virology, such as climate change, sustainability, sciences, physics, and so on. Because at a given time, we may need the services of these people to basically work on some different problems. So one of the things which research does is it basically teaches you how to learn. So if you take a typical bachelor's degree student, that student knows how to study books and give exams and get good grades. But there's a different problem about when you are presented with an unknown problem, how exactly do you go about solving it? And that's where a bachelor's degree student has problems. So that's why people who have master's or PhD degrees are better trained to go after these unknown problems which are there in the field. So whenever you are confronted with a problem where you have to find a cure for a disease which has come out of nowhere, or you have to design cars which do not run on fossil fuels, that's when, at least to make the first few steps in the field, you need the presence of PhDs and you need researchers. So this is one of the reasons why we need to do research to keep the field moving forward. So also, if we look at the research, it's a difference between whatever you consume in a field in terms of things which you study and whatever you produce in a field in the form of publications and so on. So when you transition from a bachelor's degree student to a PhD student, you basically go from a consumer of knowledge to a producer of knowledge. So that's one of the biggest changes which takes place when you do a PhD degree. Now, of course, one aspect about research is there are so many problems where you can do research, but you need to keep in mind that the problem you are looking at, it should have certain aspects for you to be excited about this topic. So one of the things is the research problem should gel with you. The research problem should motivate you in some way. For example, if you get very excited by climate change issues or by the need to cure cancer, then these research problems would be very good for you in terms of doing a PhD or doing further research in your life. Because if you are excited about the research problem, then the work becomes much more pleasurable in terms of doing and so on. We also see that there are certain problems which are important and certain problems which may be very important but which are not solvable straight away. For example, like I just mentioned, problems such as finding a cure for cancer are very important problems from a societal perspective. Now you may see that there are problems like building a time machine or flying faster than the speed of light, which may be nice problems, but these are still in the realm of science fiction. So again, these are not problems which are very suitable for a PhD topic and so on. So you need to keep in mind about the problem should be such that it can be solvable within the current technology and the current level of development of science and technology in the society. So there are some problems which may be very interesting, but it may not be the right time yet to solve these problems. So you should keep that in mind when you are selecting any research problem. So these were some of the points I thought about when making this video about what is research and how to do research and so on. So I'll probably meet you in my next video with a new set of problems related to research. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and please subscribe to my channel.